What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Andy Storch Show. I am your host, Andy Storch, and I'm excited that you're joining me today. This is a show where we can come together to starve our fears, follow our dreams, and of course, fulfill our true potential. And I'm always thinking about how can I grow my business, improve my life, and fulfill my true potential. And so this episode today is going to be more in the category of grow your business or network, get better, whatever it is. And today we're talking about conferences, and it's something that I talk a decent amount about because I go to a lot of conferences. I'm hosting my first conference later this year, the Talent Development Think Tank on November 6th and 7th. That's for mostly talent development leaders, talent development practitioners. So, most people who listen to this podcast don't necessarily fall in that bucket. By the way, quick update on that. Our ticket sales slowed down for a while. And then on Friday, as I was leaving the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference in Dallas, and that's what I want to talk about today is recapping that conference, we had 10 ticket sales on Friday, as well as a conference call to check in on everything that's going on. And we realized, with the space we have available, that as I publish this, as I record this and publish it on Monday, September 30th, we have just 9 tickets left for the Talent Development Think Tank. And in fact, our optional third day, our multipliers workshop on the third day is already sold out. We plan on capping it at 30 tickets and we've already sold 31, so it's sold out. And we have 9 tickets left for the entire conference, which is just amazing to me. I'm kind of excited and sad about it because I don't want to turn people away. I know there are more people that are still finding this, they're still looking at it. One of the things I do with this podcast is look behind the business as I'm building a business and learning. I've been getting better at sending emails out and posting things about it on social media. So I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon. I just wrote an email to send to my list tomorrow, letting them know that, hey, there are only 9 tickets left. So if you're on the fence thinking about buying a ticket, you want to jump on that website and get one. We're also raising our prices on Tuesday, October 1st, and we have 9 tickets left as I record this on Sunday, September 29th to publish tomorrow. So that's the update on the conference. Pretty crazy. We're excited about it. I think we have everything lined up for a great conference. We'll see. But I'm always looking at other conferences to, see how well, what great things can I learn from it? What are the best practices I can take away? And what are the things that I want to avoid? So today I want to recap some lessons from the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference that I attended in Dallas this last week. Now, this conference is much, much, much bigger than what the Talent Development Think Tank is going to be. In fact, they had 4,600 people at the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference, and our Talent Development Think Tank is going to sell out at 117, I think, is the max we can put in our ballroom. So I found out about this conference, and I feel silly I didn't know about it before, but it's much bigger in the talent acquisition space than the talent development space. So that's like recruiting, which I'm not involved in at all. I found out because I was talking to Josh Bersin, our opening keynote speaker for my conference, and he said he was going to be speaking at LinkedIn Talent Connect in Dallas. And so I looked it up. I had seen it once before and thought, man, this looks like a pretty good conference. And I want to get an opportunity to speak with Josh because we started talking about the academy that he has, that he launched, that he's running, and some overlap with things we're doing and potential for partnership. And I wanted to get time with him, and he's not going to be at our conference very long. So I thought, is it worth it to buy a ticket for $2,200? That was the late ticket price, and flights and everything, to go out there, just talk to him and attend this conference, maybe get some things from it. And I talked to my wife, I talked to my mastermind group, and even though our money is tight, we decided yes. In fact, we decided that if I have to pull money out of my retirement funds, then I will do that to pay for this conference. And the reasons are, one, getting the meeting with Josh, really, really important for my business and what could potentially come from it. Number 2 is the prospects I potentially meet at this meeting more important to my business now than what my retirement might look like later on. And number 3, getting the experience going to this conference. You never know who you're going to meet. I always have a good time. And so we decided to make that investment. Again, $2,200 for the ticket. Probably the flights weren't bad, probably another 300 or so for the flights. And then I looked at hotels. There were none available, or they were either like $900 a night in downtown Dallas. I was going to crash with my friend Alan and his wife Linda in Plano, about 30 minutes away, but I really didn't want to inconvenience them. And at the last minute, the night before I went on Airbnb and found an apartment in downtown Dallas for $75 a night. crazy, right? So I ended up getting this apartment walking distance from the convention center. Now, here are some of the lessons that I just wrote down. I wrote down 11 takeaways from the conference. Some of these are very specific to the LinkedIn conference. Most of them are more broad. You can apply to any conference or networking event or thing that you might be wanting to invest in for your business. Okay, so number one, if you are on the fence about making an investment like this, take the leap and go. This applies to me, and every situation is different, but I find that every time I take the leap and invest, almost every time, I'm glad I did, and almost every time it pays off. There have been a couple times I've invested a bunch of money in something that I'm not sure that it paid off. One that's ongoing right now that I'm not sure it was a great investment, but most of the time I'm happy I did. And the LinkedIn conference, really glad I went. I can't point to any strong ROI just yet. With any of these conferences, it takes months or even years for me to really figure out, was it worth it for me to go, because of the connections I make and opportunities that might come from it. This one, I think, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%. I would say I'm 75, well, I'm going to say I'm 80+% sure that it was worth it and that I am going to go again. Next year they're doing it in Boston. I'll buy my ticket earlier and it'll only be like 1,500 or something if I get the early bird, maybe even less. I don't know. So and I say, if it's just a conference, just the connections, I would say 70% sure, and then extra because I got to see Gary Vee, who is a hero of mine, got to see him speak and meet him in person. And so for that, it was almost worth it. And actually, because I got to meet with Josh Bersin, I said I wanted to go connect with him. I got to spend over an hour with him talking. And that conversation, I don't know what it will lead to, but it was an amazing conversation. So actually, now that I think about that, and that being the chief objective and what could come from it, I'm going to say 98% sure that it was worth it, and 80% sure that I'm going to go back again next year. It's in Boston in 2020. So I find when I'm on the fence about these things, it's almost always worth it to go. One of the reasons my business, things keep growing with my brand and everything, because I keep going to these things, meeting people. I have a lot of connections, a big network, because I keep doing this. Number two, investing in business now is more important than saving for retirement later. This one could be controversial, depending on how conservative you are financially. I grew up with my father taught me a lot about investing, and has been conservative with his money and has a great retirement as a result. I started investing in the stock market in my 20s and saved a pretty decent amount for retirement. I was always focused on, you have to save a lot for retirement. I've got a decent nest egg now, and I can't touch it. I can't do anything with it until I'm 60, which is over 20 years away. And I'm realizing as I am building a business that has so much potential to skyrocket and make me a ton of money in the next 20 years. And I'm also realizing that if I get involved in a business I love, I'm probably not going to want to stop working at 60 or even 70 or even 80, right? If I'm still doing things I love and I figure out how to make money now, I'll be able to figure out how to make money then. And therefore, it's not as important to save for retirement. It's better to invest in my business and in myself now. And so if I have to pull money out of, say, a Roth IRA to invest in a conference like this, I'm going to do that. Now, I haven't had to do that yet, but I will do that. I'm that committed to my business and investing in myself. Again, your mileage may vary. It's different for every person. I'm not recommending you go pull money out of your retirement funds to go buy a ticket to a conference. What I'm telling you is that for me and the way I'm living my life right now, almost 40 years old, growing a business and a personal brand and seeing where everything can go, and that the more I invest in it, the better it gets, and the potential is absolutely huge. It's more important for me to invest in my business, and I think I get a higher return in investing in my business and myself than I do investing in the stock market and retirement. And so that's where I am right now. Not that I'm going to stop investing for retirement if I have extra money, et cetera, that sort of thing. But if I have to make a choice, I'm investing in myself. All right. So just so you know, that may motivate some of you to think about things differently. And some of you may be pissed off and say like, no, you can't do that. That's crazy. That's your choice. So number three, speakers are great, but networking is king. I have said it many times as I've talked about conferences and networking, that when I decide to go to a conference, I decide to go not because of the speakers. In fact, I've gone to many conferences where I didn't even know who any of the speakers were. I go because of the vibe, the culture, and especially because of the people that I might meet there. So for instance, last year I took a leap and I flew to London for the Youpreneur Summit in London last November. I had been following the host, Chris Ducker. I had read his book. I had listened to his podcast. I went on the website. There were like 8 keynote speakers listed. I'd never heard of any of them. And I still bought a ticket and I booked flights to go to London for this conference. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I loved it. And I bought a ticket already to go back this year. It's right after my conference. I can't wait to go back. I think I know of 2 of the 8 speakers this year. One of them is Hal Elrod, who is one of my heroes and who I recently interviewed for this podcast, and that'll be coming up soon. I'm pretty excited about that. There's a couple others that I've heard their names, but I don't even know who they are. So I'm still going back because when I went there, I met so many great people who are doing things like me, who are trying to build a personal brand, who have a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever. And I've kept in touch with many of them, and I see what they're doing, and it motivates me to do more things. And so that's why it was totally worth it for me to go and do that. Now that may be different for you, but when I looked at the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference, I was actually excited about a couple of the keynote speakers. They had Gary Vaynerchuk, who is another hero of mine, one of my top 3. And they had Michelle Obama on the last day, who I know I wouldn't get a chance to meet, but just to be in the same room and hear her would be amazing. I really admire her. And her husband, Barack Obama, is also one of my top 3 heroes. So there's my top 3 heroes. I've been thinking about this, and I'll do a whole separate episode about it. And I definitely don't want to get into politics, but that man is someone that I greatly admire, and I admire Michelle as well. So it was cool to be in the same room. But again, I wouldn't go and pay money just for the speakers. It's about the networking. Who are you going to meet when you go to these conferences? Because those are the people you're going to be able to keep in touch with. Those are the people you're really going to be able to learn from. If you're lucky enough to even meet one of the speakers at a conference, chances are they're so big time that you're not really going to be able to develop a relationship with them. Maybe it depends on the conference. Gary Vee, I did get to meet him. He's not going to remember me. Michelle, I didn't get to meet her. Dean Carter was one of the closing keynote speakers, the CHRO of Patagonia. He was amazing. Didn't get to meet him, but I did message him on LinkedIn and invite him to come on my podcast, The Talent Development Hot Seat. So we'll see where that goes. And I tagged him in an Instagram story, and I saw that he started following me on Instagram today, which is a whole other side note when you're networking with people on the internet. Instagram. I'm mostly on LinkedIn, but Instagram is like a very slick little way to connect with people and get them into their life and have them connect with you and message people. It's a whole different game. It's crazy. So anyway, back to the conference. Networking is king. I met some great people while I was there. Most of the conferences, 80%, there were 4,600 people, 80% were probably talent acquisition or recruiters, not my ideal client, but they all work with the talent development people. So connecting with them was good. I asked some of them, straight up asked for intros to their talent development person. They said yes. I met a couple people in talent development. Okay, and I will get back to a couple more points related to the networking. Number 4, use the technology they give you, finding people, messaging, etc. So for this conference, they set up a pretty good app, and it had all of the speakers listed, all of the participants listed. You could follow people, you could message them, and you could look them up and see what they do, and you could link through to their LinkedIn profile. And so I was using that to message people that I wanted to try to meet up with, see who else was there. I noticed a couple people I know were coming, like JP Elliott, who is the head of talent at Dick's Sporting Goods and has been on my other podcast. Another guy who I had connected with and read his book reached out to me, and I realized that he was there. And I also you could do meeting requests, and I got a meeting request from the head of talent development for the police force in Abu Dhabi, the country in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates. And so I accepted it, and I ended up meeting up with like 5 people from Abu Dhabi who just found me in the app, and they wanted to talk about talent development because they saw my podcast and everything. It was a very interesting conversation about what they're doing. I invited the head of talent there to come on my other podcast, and we are going to connect about their academy, university they're building there, and possibly do some work together. It happened because we were at the same conference, because of the app. It never would have happened otherwise. So who knows where the heck that's going to go? Abu Dhabi. Maybe I'll get a chance to go to Abu Dhabi. Might take my first trip to the Middle East as a result of going to this conference. You never know. So take advantage of the technology, the app, whatever they give you to connect with participants and find out who's going to be there and who they are, so you can prepare and start to message people. Number 5, get numbers from people you want to meet up with. So there's the messaging in the app, but it's always a little bit buggy. People I wanted to meet up with, and immediately, what's your cell phone number? Let's exchange numbers. And it's much easier to text people. and find them. So that's another lesson of networking and, client relationship sales in 2019. I go to the mobile number quick. I go to texting quick. If I can get someone's mobile number and there's someone I'm trying to build a relationship with, I will text them and be like, hey, what's up? And I find that like 80+% of the time, not only are they receptive to it, they're open to it, they enjoy it, they like tech. I can take a relationship from a boring email relationship to a fun relationship once we get to text pretty quickly. I've done that with a bunch of prospects. And so I'll continue to do that. I know some old school people would probably bristle at that. Oh, don't give them your mobile number or get their mobile number. No, I went right to that. When I found Josh Bersin right before he was going to go on stage in front of 400 people, I said, hey, what's your number? Let's exchange numbers. He gave me a cell number. Boom, we're texting, and we met up later. If I hadn't done that, I never would have found him later because there's a million people there. Number 6, take action quickly to take advantage of an opportunity. Okay, so people always want to do stuff. Opportunities come their way, and then they freeze up, they get scared. God, that used to be me for most of my life. And then one day slowly I decided that I'm going to start taking action. If I want to get something done, I'm going to take action. And so I mentioned that I met Gary Vee. Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know him, if you follow me, you probably follow Gary Vee. I don't need to explain who he is. He's a massively popular entrepreneur, founder of VaynerMedia in New York. I went to his office the week before to interview his chief heart officer, Claude Silver, which was amazing. And I think I mentioned that. But Gary Vee is, he's got like 7 million followers on Instagram. It's hard to get anywhere near him, even though he's wildly public and available and messages people all the time, more than any other probably internet celebrity. Still, I knew that he was going to be speaking. I was excited. I was hopeful that I'd get a chance to meet him or get a picture with him, but I didn't know if that would be possible. So here's where my lesson comes in on taking action. I was sitting in a session, and I was actually in the front row, and I was just sitting there about halfway through the session. I pulled out my phone and I looked at it, and I pulled up LinkedIn, and I saw that Gary Vee was live on LinkedIn at that moment. And I looked at the little video, and I could see in the background that he was in the conference hall. So I'm like, he is here somewhere. And again, this is the lesson about taking action. Old me would have been like, oh, well, I'm in a session. I don't know if I should go out there. What if I can't find him? What if I do? And what do I do? I don't know. No, that was old me. New me, I immediately zipped up my bag, walked out of the room, turned on the sound on the video, started watching it. He had just finished it and started looking around to figure out where he was. I realized he was in the lounge area, which is this big area where all the networking goes on. I walked in, it's this huge area, there's no one around, and I kept looking around, and boom, I found him with his videographer, D-Rock, and 3 other people who had found him, including this guy, Adam Posner, who I ended up talking to a bunch the rest of the day. And so I went up to him, I shook his hand, I gave him a hug. I told him I was a big fan and that I'd learned so much from him, that I'm hosting 2 podcasts and growing a business and blah, blah, blah. And can I take a picture with him? And that was it. And then he took off. So nothing amazing, but I am just, like I said, he is one of top 3 heroes of mine. I follow him, I've learned so much from him. He's changed my life. And I was just so excited to get to meet him and get a picture with him. And I know I'm not alone in this because I posted that picture on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I got probably more likes and comments than I have on just about any other picture I've ever posted. And that's because so many people follow him and would also love to get a chance to meet him. And I only got that chance because I took action. The lesson from this is when you see an opportunity, take action, go for it, and then figure out the details later. Okay. Number 7, conferences are still a big deal and probably, and people love learning. So digital age, people can connect and get information anywhere, anytime. You can go on YouTube to get all the information you want, Google, whatever it is, and people still pay massive amounts of money to go to conferences. Why? Because they crave human connection. They want to network and learn from other people. And they know that with the short attention spans, I know this, I learn better sitting in a presentation listening to someone than I do watching it on YouTube. So example, Josh Bersin, who's speaking at my conference and was also speaking there. He's not that dynamic of a speaker, but he's got great up-to-date information. You can find his stuff on his website or YouTube, but he still had 400 plus people in his session who wanted to hear from him. And this is why I'm hosting my first conference, why I'm very bullish on conferences and events. I'm going to be hosting more conferences in the future, talent development, entrepreneurship, freelancing, personal development, you name it. I have so many ideas in my head and things I want to do. And I'm very bullish on this because not just because I love going to conferences and events, but I think other people want to as well. More and more, I think conferences are getting bigger, even as it's easier to connect with people digitally. And so I'm very bullish on that. Number 8, LinkedIn has an amazing brand. Holy crap. So I mentioned this in the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference. This was basically a 3-day advertisement for LinkedIn. There were 4,600 people there and everybody paid. I checked, I asked around. I was thinking that, you know, all the LinkedIn customers who use LinkedIn Learning and their recruiter products and stuff would get free tickets, and everyone said no, they all paid. Other than the speakers, everybody paid at least $1,500 a pop, right? Close to $2,000 a pop. You think about the revenue for that conference. I'm trying to do it right now. 4,600 times, let's say, average 1,700. Wow, 7.8 million. Is that right? 4,600 times average 1,700 a ticket. Yeah, 7.8 million in income or revenue for that conference. Now they spent a lot. They went all out. Just so much technology and help available, and it was beautiful, beautifully done. Open food and bar and wine, you know, drinks each night. So it was awesome, and I'm sure they spent most of that money. I wouldn't be surprised if it was unprofitable for them, other than obviously it gets people excited about LinkedIn and they sell more stuff from it. But I'm telling you, it was like a 3-day advertisement for LinkedIn and people were loving it. So that's how strong a brand they have. And that's what's possible in business. If you build a strong brand, people get excited to give you money and be part of something. And that's what I'm trying to build with the Talent Development Think Tank and this and everything else. So that was inspiring. Also, the other inspiring thing, when Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn, was on stage, he said, this is the 10th year of the conference. The first year they did it, they had about 150 people in San Francisco, and now they have 4,600. So guess what? My first conference is coming up. We have 100. We're gonna have 117. I don't know if we're gonna have 4,600 in my 10th year, but this is what is possible. This is what is possible when you create a great brand and provide a lot of value and something that people want to go to, right? So that got my mind really racing. Number 9, quick tip on connecting with speakers. Send pictures to people who are speaking. So if you know a speaker, even if you don't know a speaker and you have a good vantage point, you're in the first couple rows, take a couple pictures of them on stage. I always do this, and then I send it to them. If I have their number, I'll text it to them. If I don't, maybe I'll send it to them on LinkedIn. They always appreciate it. I'm a speaker. I love getting pictures of me on stage. I always forget to ask people, or I feel sheepish about it because I feel like a jerk if I'm like, hey, can you take a picture of me while I'm on stage? Even though all speakers want it. So when I went to see my friends JP and his colleague from Dick's Sporting Goods, I took great pictures of both of them because I was in the front row and sent it to them, and they loved it. And I think they ended up posting them on LinkedIn later. But anyway, I sent those pictures, and you know, JP texted me back and said, hey, thanks so much for the pictures. Do you want to come to dinner with me and my team at this nice Italian restaurant? Boom. Now we already had been developing a friendship. Maybe he was going to invite me anyway, maybe not. But when I sent him the pictures, I got the invitation. And I'm not saying that you should ever send pictures like this and expect anything in return, but it's a nice gesture. It's a really nice thing to do. So if you're ever at a conference, if you know a speaker or you want to get to know a speaker, take some pictures and send it to them. They will appreciate it. I know I always do. Number 10, we have 2 left. I wrote down 11 lessons. Number 10, talk to everyone. You never know who you're going to meet. I don't even know if I have any good examples of this. Oh yeah, I just started talking. I mean, I talked to so many random people and they were like, you know, in charge of talent acquisition or happen to be doing talent development as well, or knew somebody or whatever. I mean, that's some great conversations. And I wrote down a lot of things that I need to follow up with people on. And that leads me to number 11. First of all, bring cards if you have them. I did not bring many. I completely forgot. More importantly, get cards from people. Connect with them immediately on LinkedIn or social media. And one thing I did this time that I don't often do is I started a note in my iPhone of all the people that I met that I wanted to follow up with. And I kept updating that as time went on because I knew I kept meeting people. I was definitely going to forget some when I went back. So make a list of the people you want to follow up with, and then make sure you make time to follow up with them. So as we record this, I am about to book some time on my calendar for tomorrow, and I'm going to take care of the follow-ups that I need to do, because if I don't do those follow-ups, it might all be for naught, right? This conference, the chances of, let's say I said, oh, what's the ROI, or is it worth it to go to this conference? And I said 80%. If I don't do my follow-ups, maybe that drops to 50%, because as of right now, I see some good business opportunities that might come from this. And if I don't do my follow-ups, those opportunities will never come, right? Now, there are some benefits either way. The people I met, I connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn. They're going to follow me. Many people ask about my podcast. They might start listening to it. They might be hearing this. You never know. But I need to follow up with people about my conference, about a couple business opportunities and that sort of thing. So make notes of people you want to follow up with. Be proactive. Never, 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 never rely on other people to be the ones to follow up with you. Never wait for them. Always be proactive. Always be the one who follows up. Always be the one who takes action. Don't ever wait for anybody else, ever, ever. All right? Unless you're a woman waiting for a proposal. That's the only situation I can think of. Don't wait for anybody else. Take action. If it's a networking thing, you need to be the one to follow up, because 99% of the time, the other person never will. Okay? So make sure you follow up. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I think that's all my takeaways and lessons from the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference. Again, most of these you can use for any conference you go to. I will be going to more. I'll probably be going to this one next year. I've got one more conference coming up back in Dallas in October, a human capital HR networking kind of conference. And then the next one will be the Talent Development Think Tank on November 6th and 7th in Sonoma, California, my first conference. I hope that in the next week or so, by the time you hear me again, I'll be able to report that it's sold out. We still got a few weeks left. As I record this, only 9 tickets left. I'm pretty freaking excited, and I hope it goes well. And I really appreciate you listening to me today. This went on a little longer than I hoped it would or thought it would or whatever, but there's a lot of great lessons that came out of this. And I hope that you got some good takeaways from this, and you'll be going to a conference soon and using some of these lessons. Talk to everybody, be curious, ask them questions, get to know people. You never, never know where it'll go. Thanks again for listening. Have an awesome week. Cheers.